It is that time of the morning where we tantalize our taste buds for our Sunday morning food feature. And this morning we profile cook, recipe developer, food stylist and culinary arts graduate Linda Ramoupi. As a qualified chef and photographer, Linda has steered her career into the digital space by sharing her talent and skills on various social media platforms. Now, to tell us more about how her journey has been like in the culinary landscape, Linda is in studio with us this morning. Linda, very good morning. Welcome.
Good morning, Cynthia. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good.
Good to see you. Welcome. Let's now start with how and when the journey started for you.
So my journey started in 2017 when I was pregnant. So I was on maternity leave and I used to work for a medical insurance company for about 7 years. And I was really not, happy because I've always loved cooking. And when I was on maternity leave with my second child, I decided, let me take that leap of faith and start my culinary journey. So I resigned and I went to school.
Okay. Okay, so you went to culinary school,
Yes, I went to culinary school, HTA. It's in Randburg, and that's basically where my journey started.
Okay, and you cook a variety of dishes. So how would you typically describe the food that you style and, of course, the recipes that you develop?
So the recipes that I develop are very, so I try and, broaden my horizon. I don't stick to just one thing. So I try and style and, cook a lot of food or cuisines. So that's how I, try and develop myself.
And I see that you share a lot of recipes on social media. Let's talk about the kind of feedback that you get on that platform.
Okay, so the kind of feedback that I get is very good. Sometimes it's very pressurizing because, people, as soon as you share a picture, because obviously my end goal is to become a food stylist.
Right.
So, but people also expect you to share recipes all the time. So sometimes it's just me trying to, advertise the food styling part of it. But the feedback that I normally get is very good. People really enjoy the recipes, and sometimes they do tag me when they've cooked or tried out my recipes. So I think they really love the recipes that I share with them.
I hear this term food stylist all the time, but
Yes.
I don't actually know what a food stylist is.
So it's so funny because when I was in culinary school, they don't teach you about food styling. They just teach you the chef aspect of it, that you need to graduate, become a sous chef, then a head chef. So I kind of stumbled upon it, on Instagram when I was going through, pictures. And I used to say to my husband, why are some of these pictures so good? Because when you cook the food, when you plate it, it's not as good as it looks.
Right.
So I then stumbled upon, food styling, and I realized, there's another aspect to cooking, which is food styling. So food styling is basically making the food look pretty. So it's, tantalizing, and like they say that people eat with their eyes first. So that's the main thing for about food styling.
Exactly the same way that I'm eating this food with my eyes.
Yes.
Just take us through what you got here.
All right, so today I've got sort of my favorites, and I believe that my social media followers favorite, because every time I post a stew with dumpling, I get so much feedback.
Yeah.
So I've got a beef stew here with dumpling that is stuffed with carrots and parsley.
It does look good. And how do you, make the beef stew? Is there a particular way, the Linda way that you do it?
So the Linda way is to really start it, firstly is to cook it nice and slow, because you don't want to rush so your flavors develop. So it's to start with the onion and some spices and really cook them nice and slow so that, the taste of the spices come through. Because I know that when you rush cooking is like something, it's an art, you need to be very patient with it, do it nice and slow. So that's how I do it. I start my process with onion and fry my spices, but on a very, very low heat, and I develop the flavors as I go.
Is it a thing immersing the dumpling in the stew as you cook it so that it cooks along with the stew?
Yes, because it does add flavor, and the sauce goes into the dumpling. So, it's like a finger-licking thing.
Right. And I see on your Facebook page, you say that scones are a love language for you.
Yes, so scones are a love language for me because my husband, who's been very supportive throughout my journey, really, really loves scones. And it's one of those things that when I make scones at home. It's like they expect me to make them every single day.
Yes.
So it's more like a family thing where we make scones and we sit down and drink tea and catch up on the day. So it's basically a love language for...
What makes your scones so special? Are they flavored or are they just simply scones?
I mean, I believe that everything I cook is special, so it's not, I think with this particular one, it's more of
And I believe you.
a nostalgic moment because it's something that's very dear to me that I share with my family. So that's why I say it's a love language for me.
Okay. And let's talk about comfort food. What's your go-to hug me kind of food?
Stew, dumplings. I really love the Indian cuisine. So curry is also one of my comfort foods. Food that, you know, when you sit down, like if you think of, you know, when we were still young and grandmothers used to cook, like a Sunday, like on a Sunday like this, by this time the kitchen is smelling so good. So those sams, your stews, your curries are definitely my go-to comfort foods.
Okay. And speaking of cuisines, which one is closer to your heart? Your African cuisines, your international cuisines, or you just sample each and any cuisine that you are in the mood for?
So I just sample any cuisine that I'm in the mood for because, like I said, I'm still trying to, you know, develop myself in the food styling journey. So I just don't want to limit myself into one particular cuisine. So I try and, you know, learn and style about a lot of cuisines.
Yeah. So what does a Sunday lunch table look for you in your household?
So it would be a typical mostly stew or roast with some side veggies and some starch, so maybe potatoes or rice or dumpling or sam. So we'll normally have a stew or a roast, veggies and salads.
Okay. And most chefs say that they constantly experiment with food. Do you share the same sentiment?
Yes,
Are you
definitely.
just like me who are an experimental cook?
No, yes, you have to be experimental because you can't stick to one thing. You know, food is very
Actually,
versatile.
right. Yeah.
So that is why when you asked me which cuisine do I really do, it was very difficult for me to answer that because cooking is all about experimenting. So there's different flavors, Asian, Indian, African. There's so many. So in order for you to really broaden your horizon, you need to be very, you know, experimental as a person.
Okay. So what is that item in your cupboard that will forever be in your cupboard?
Oh, I will never.
I know it can be sold, sure.
So the things that I really can't survive with is your curry powder. I told you that personally I love Indian cuisine. So curry powder and a whole lot of spices. But curry powder needs to be in my cupboard. I can't cook without curry powder.
Okay.
Or curry paste. So that's my definite...
I thought I saw a slide of oxtail, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah, and I hope my colleagues will put it up. Just speaking of oxtail, yeah, there it is, there it is. Speaking of oxtail, because Lebo and I have been sharing recipes of oxtail cooking, and what's your recipe that you'd love to share with us?
So the recipe is also actually available on my social media, this exact one.
Okay.
So it's to start it off with onion, and obviously like coat your oxtail with some flour, brown that, put it aside. Start with onion, as I said, spices, you know, nice and slow. Even if you can put like your stove on number 2, fry those spices until they release an aroma, and then add the oxtail back, braise it with some red onion. It's not a must for you to put red wine in it, and then you can add some stock as well, and then really just cook it slow. You don't have to hurry the process, and that's what makes a good oxtail for me.
What do you feel about a pressure cooker, like cooking oxtail in a pressure cooker as compared to the traditional slow cooking method?
I actually use a pressure cooker a lot.
Really?
But yeah, I do. I mean, obviously...
You heard that, Len? Most of the chefs that we've had, yeah, they always prefer pressure cooker.
They want to cut the time.
Yes.
I mean, I prefer the traditional way, man.
But you need to tell us where you... I'm also a big fan of spices. Like spices, you know, are my thing. So where's your go-to place for spices?
So I go to Career Center. I don't know if you know Career Center in Randburg on Bramfisher Drive. There's a spice market there. There's also like a Chinese shop where they sell a lot of like curry paste. So that's where I normally go to. It's next door to the the veggie marketplace. So if you go to that place, it's a minefield of spices.
Spices and spices. You're a girl next to my heart. Spices. Bland food cannot.
Yes, we
Do you
can't
ever
be
think
having
of
bland food
growing
now.
your own herbs?
Yes, I do. Actually, we just moved into our new home. And the one thing when we went home marketing was to find a yard that had, a vegetable garden.
Okay.
So luckily, the previous owner had already had a garden.
Yeah.
So I've got like so much kale. I usually share snaps on my social media. We've got rosemary, mint,
Yes.
tomato. So now we are in that journey of, trying to grow our own food, and it's very exciting.
And since scones are your thing, are you looking into going to baking?
Not
really.
really. I don't think I have
Not
patience
yet.
for baking.
Okay.
It's really not my thing. I don't even want to lie to you guys.
Okay.
But I do try, and bake cakes for my family on their birthdays and so forth. But I'm not even going to try and, explore
Got you.
that part.
Okay, Linda, great chatting to you. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you
joining
so
us.
much for having
It's
me,
an absolute
guys.
pleasure. That was cook, recipe developer and food stylist Linda Ramoupi, and she's been speaking to us about a culinary journey.